Welcome to Trust Your Gut with Tanya. I am Tanya Abatello. I am a functional nutrition strategist and wellness practitioner who helps high performing individuals resolve chronic, complex health issues that haven't responded to conventional approaches. I have a background in both biology and technology, so I take a systems based investigative approach, identifying root causes, optimizing nutrition, and regulating the nervous system to create highly personalized protocols that actually work. I also integrate Kundalini yoga, Pilates, and sound healing to help clients not just heal, but fundamentally recalibrate how their body functions under stress. And after experiencing this whole thing, I needed to learn how to do that for myself first. So I'm going to give you a just upfront disclaimer. This is your warning, trigger warning. I will be discussing some very harrowing situations, and they are with regard to menstruation and bleeding and the such, as well as other COVID related things. So if that is not your jam, I'm letting you know right now up front. There will be clips throughout this being taken. I will have notes and whatnot. You can read below, and if it gets to be too much, you can stop. So I just want to let you know, because this was a huge deal for me. So what does all this have to do with menopause? I was about 48 when this happened, and I felt the whole perimenopause thing like ramping up for over a decade. I was having hot flashes mostly. And at the beginning, and I hear this is really kind of cool. I'm really appreciating the fact that a lot of millennial women are going through perimenopause now, because that means I'm in Gen X. We're like the tiniest generation that exists currently. And because of that, and nobody wants to listen to us anyway, which is part of the problem. At least now there's a lot of millennial women. They're all going through this thing. So consequently, what's happening is there are lots of reels on Instagram and TikToks, and attention being given to perimenopause, which is really important. Menopause is next. So I'm here to tell you, as your elder crone lady, what it's like and all the weirdness that comes with it, and how certain things are considered normal that really aren't. Okay. So let's flash back to again, maybe 20 years ago, when things started to go awry. I had my first child, my only child, at about, where are we at now? Almost 25 years ago. So I was 30 right after he was born. So I was starting to get into this perimenopausal phase a few years after that. Because it does sometimes take 10 or more years, because what happens is your hormones are fluctuating. And this is not unlike when women first get their period as young girls. It takes a couple years for the body's rhythm to find itself. And, then we end up not being able to really find our rhythms because we go on the pill. And that's a whole other discussion, which I will be addressing in the future. There's lots of information in today. This is a very densely packed episode. It may be a little longer as well, but everything that I hit in this episode, I will probably be doing follow-up episodes to address each thing, because there is a lot of information here. So in the earlier years, I was having wild mood swings, severe cramping, the breast tenderness. I mean, I was like, it was painful. This had even happened. It happened after I had my son, and I had breastfed for as long as I possibly could. I think I got a whole 6 months out of it. But when you're stressed out and you have to go back to work and you have to pump, it makes it difficult. This is not your fault. The body really needs the perfect environment to properly conceive, carry, and nurture another being. It really does. So my OBGYN was like, oh, well, you have endometriosis. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not surprised by that because I know that my mother had suffered with that for years. Um, it's kind of funny, actually. My aunt, who wasn't related, married into the family, also did, and she's my mother's sister-in-law, and they used to joke around and call it sister-in-law-itis. So what I think is funny about that, the point is that it was around. I heard about it for a very long time. I knew that it was something that I probably could expect. Um, and for my mother, she really welcomed menopause with open arms, which was, I mean, she's always been very healthy in her mindset around all things menstrual related. And even as far as everything, she's kind of one of the OG Earth mothers. I mean, she wasn't like really hardcore earthy crunchy, but I get a lot of it from her. She did do a lot of these things. And I am eternally grateful always that I knew that I could look forward to menopause instead of dread it. So I looked forward to the relief and anticipation as well. So the breast tenderness and the endometriosis. So of course the internet was a thing, and I'm like, okay, endometriosis. What can I do? How can I find that naturally will take care of this? Because I had already been on since last episode talking about early on that I discovered I can find alternatives online. Yes, okay, again, go looking everything up, blah, blah, blah. But that's one of the reasons I'm here. I'm here because I looked so you don't have to. You still should always do your own research, but use this as a jumping off point, okay? So I found information on something called maca root powder. So the people of Peru in really high elevations were having difficulty conceiving. I think they had other issues around sexual dysfunction as well because of the altitude. And again, when your body is in a place that is stressful, reproduction is secondary and survival is first. So reproduction kind of goes out the window. So what they found out was they did what indigenous peoples and humanity has done for millennia, which is they looked at the llamas. They noticed the llamas weren't having any problem reproducing, and they paid attention to what the llamas were eating, and lo and behold, it was this turnip-like tuber that grew underground called maca, and it's in the same family as broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. Remember this as we get further down, because that is also one of the keys here to balancing your hormones. Eat all the cruciferous vegetables. Very good for you. And if you make them right, they're very tasty too. If you have any questions about recipes, I'm into that. So please just let me know. So I have a study here, if I can find that, about the therapeutic effects of a pre-gelatinized maca used as a non-hormonal alternative to HRT in perimenopausal women, clinical plot study. So in the conclusions, it says, in comparison to placebo, after 2 months of using maca capsules by perimenopausal women, serum levels of FSH, E2, PG, and ACTH, those are all hormones, substantially increased. Results of interviews conducted by a gynecologist after 2 months using maca G supplement. Majority of the women, 15 of 18, which concluded the 4-month trial observed reduction in general feeling of discomfort typically observed in early postmenopausal stage. So again, perimenopausal, you're kind of going back and forth between having it, not having it. You're kind of got one foot in, the mother and the other in the crone. That's the only way I can describe it. I know crone is not the best word, but you know what? I'll take it. According to the responses given in Cooperman's questionnaire for assessment of menopausal index, frequency of hot flashes and incidence of in-night sweating, interrupted sleep pattern, nervousness, depression, and heart palpitations. Think about these. This is where I'm going to get into this. These symptoms. Okay, so we have night sweats, interrupted sleep pattern, nervousness, depression, and heart palpitations. As I get through this, we'll see those symptoms pop up again. And I'd be willing to bet that any of you, if you're male and you're continuing to listen to this, are familiar with that group of symptoms. Because anybody, male or female, that has experienced long COVID, these are very, very, very familiar. Okay. So preliminary. So basically, yeah, the bottom line is that improved quality of life, and maca's awesome. Okay. My own experience with the maca was that maca's pretty awesome. I put it in my morning shake. I told everybody about it because I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been telling everybody about everything. And now, I have a platform. So anyway, I noticed that my period was my breast tenderness was alleviated. My period was lighter. It was only 3 days long. I noticed that my mood and my libido were kind of really great. It was a miracle. But because the body never stays static, and I was a woman approaching menopause, as time went on, the maca powder was no longer cutting it. I needed bigger guns. I needed more of the active ingredient that was found in the maca to accomplish what I was previously experiencing in the alleviating of my symptoms. So the active ingredient is basically DIM. DIM, let me pronounce that. Diindolylmethane. This stuff is also a miracle. This is that active ingredient that is found in cruciferous vegetables. So eating the broccoli, eating cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, that is what sulforaphane is another one. Really great stuff. Eating broccoli sprouts is even better because it's really loaded with this stuff. So you don't have to go out and buy a supplement. You can grow your own little sprouts in the window, and there you go. Just take them, throw them in your salad, or even if you want to blend them in a smoothie, you could do whatever you want with this stuff, and it will help. So research shows DIM may have several benefits for your health, including reducing inflammation, pain, and swelling in your body, and preventing cancer. So this is like all around good stuff. This is why I say eat your broccoli. This is why, right? More research needs to be done to be sure of these effects. You know what? I don't care. It's not going to hurt you. It's all good for you. Do it. Okay. So I have a whole bunch of links that I will be putting in the show notes as well. And you can find them when you go there, because I have like a million tabs open. I'm going to do my best to just try to keep it shorter. So it balances estrogen, reduces inflammation, prevents breast cancer, protects against prostate problems, men. So this is good for everybody. Okay. Helps with weight loss. That's a good thing. Fights acne, reduces hot flashes, reduces PMS symptoms. So all these things, arugula, collard greens, mustard greens, daikon radish, horseradish, kale, kohlrabi radish, and all the other broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, etc. Get more of those in your diet. Worst comes to worst, get yourself some DIM. There's also indole 3-carbinol, but that is not as effective. So I also read about the estrogen dominance was what was behind endometriosis to begin with. I learned the calcium D-glucarate is another thing, right? In tandem with the DIM is a powerful 1-2 punch to perimenopause. So I started my new protocol, and it made quite a difference. And I was mostly fine, except for the hot flashes that were ramping up the closer I got to that fateful day in March 2020. So here we go. So calcium D-glucarate, it's another fantastic thing. It helps to clear all kinds of things out of the body. But here is the warning. Take it away from everything else, because it can take good stuff with the bad. Okay. But it is an excellent thing to help your liver in detoxifying your body. And especially if you have that wonderful MTHFR gene mutation or any other dirty genes, then taking something like this could be helpful. So it's also helpful in long COVID. Again, we're starting to see a little pattern here where these two things overlap. I mean, the Venn diagram, the part in the middle is just really very large. And it's very strange to me. So I had a wild ride. Okay. My experience with the original COVID strain was a bit harrowing. If it hadn't been for the uncertainty and the lockdowns, I might have actually gone to the hospital, which is kind of a big deal for me because I stay far away from all that. But I actually felt like, oh my God, am I going to die? I got COVID really badly. I understood the fear around getting this thing. I had every single symptom except for the pneumonia and death. And what was really crazy about it when I got it was I felt it seeking out past injuries and inflaming things. Like if I'd broken a finger, anything that I had was bothering me. And things would happen sequentially. Before you know it, like it started with me not really getting a full breath, which gave me some ideas about what was behind that. And I just had to lay down and sleep with the window cracked. I mean, it was March, it was still cold, but I had to have that breeze on me so I could breathe. And as I improved, new symptoms would pop up. Most noticeable was a major shift in my menstrual cycle and crazy frequent hot flashes. So again, I'm going through the act of getting closer and closer to this menopause while experiencing these symptoms that were continuing that were from COVID. I mean, I was having inner ear disturbances. I was dizzy. I was falling over. It was very difficult to suss out what was happening. And were they actually working on each other, right? Were they compounding each other? So I wasn't the only one. As I was looking through and doing some research on this, I found that there is a connection. There's other people that have experienced this. I wasn't the only one. There were a lot of women that were going through something similar. So I have a link to an article from Harvard Health, Menopause and Long COVID. What's the connection? With overlapping symptoms, women struggling with both conditions can have trouble getting the help they need. So let's just add that on top. Okay, ladies, we have a hard enough time figuring out what on earth is happening because, again, it takes a very savvy endocrinologist. I'm not even going to say OBGYN. Maybe once in a while you'll find one. But I mean, even mine, who is an amazing doctor, by the way, still couldn't tell me what some of my hormonal results meant, which was mind-blowing to me. But they're not endocrinologists. So you would need a really good endocrinologist to understand hormonally what's happening in your body. Hormones are not meant to be messed with. This is one of the reasons why I do shy away from hitting the body with any hormones. My opinion might be controversial in that I don't agree with the birth control pill. I was on and off of it for 10 years. I had major issues with it. This is just a little side quest I'm going on here with this. But it does affect a young developing cycle and could cause long-term problems down the road, which means ovulation, because it suppresses ovulation, is not happening on the regular, which means when ovulation doesn't happen, all the other things don't happen, all the other hormones don't happen. And the body, it's like a well-worn pathway once the menstrual cycle gets established. And the reason behind a lot of women at young ages go on birth control isn't necessarily to control birth. It's to control ridiculous periods that are all out of whack because their hormones are imbalanced. That's a completely different thing. We need to get to the bottom of why that's happening instead of throwing another hormone at it and further messing things up, because we've got a lot of infertility right now. Could be a contributing factor. Not saying it is. I haven't looked up the definitive proof yet, but I've been hearing rumblings out in the health and wellness community that this could be a problem. And understanding the way these things work makes a lot of sense, that maybe you don't want to be messing around with young cycles as they're becoming established. Okay. Again, hormones, notoriously difficult to balance. I really very seldom find anybody who's really gotten the hang of this. So, anyhow, back to our regularly scheduled program. So, this article by Harvard Women's Health Watch talks about this. Again, I'll be putting the link in there, but it says basically, before the pandemic, Beth, the woman they're profiling, was just beginning to experience erratic periods, mood swings, fatigue, and other signs of perimenopause. But after she caught the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and especially after the infection morphed into long COVID, Beth's woes worsened. Short-term memory lapses, along with severe hot flashes and brain fog, joined her prior problems, creating a confusing slurry of symptoms. Amen. Exactly. That's what I went through. The hot flashes were insane. I'd have hot and cold. I'd have chills. And that is a thing that does happen under, I'm going to say normal, relatively normal circumstances, because we are living in a new normal with regard to women and their hormones. But it was off the charts. It was crazy. She attributed many of these symptoms to long COVID, but they're also symptoms we may see as perimenopause progresses. So again, this is a difficult thing to try to figure out. If you don't know what's causing the symptoms that you're having, throwing an intervention that may make the situation worse down the road, I am not sure if that's a wise idea. So this is why what I'm getting to towards the end, which I always do for you, is I give you options. I give you alternatives, and I give you more things to question and maybe research yourself. I also give you the opportunity to contact me so we can work together and try to figure it out for you. Because when it comes to women, it comes to people, we are all so very different, and every single body is very different. So yes, I had a similar experience to so many women, but what was behind it for me may be different than what was behind it for other people. There are ways to figure this out. So again, I was getting closer to menopause. My mother went through it at the tender age of 47, which I was like, all right, let's go. And I was 49 by October of that year of getting COVID. The acute illness had passed, but the symptoms, including the hot flashes, peripheral neuropathy, that was fun. Horrible periods, air hunger, which is you can't catch the breath, palpitations, lung burning, vertigo, Achilles tendonitis, that was fun, insomnia, and pain in my liver, probably a few others that I blocked out, persisted. Reading up, I realized that not all of these symptoms could be attributed to menopause, but the overlaps were maddening. So I get into a little more about long COVID in here. There is another article that is attached. Oh, the horror. It wasn't done with me yet. During the spring of 2021, there was a very unusual phenomenon that was occurring. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to tell you why this happened, because I don't think anybody really does know. There's a lot of people saying they think they know. I'm not even going to tell you what they're thinking, because it messes the algorithm up. Let's just leave it at that. Women all over the country were simultaneously experiencing a shocking condition known as dropping a decidual cast. It was a topic of a few renegade podcasts that I watched at the time, and was a common enough occurrence that Google Analytics, this is the other thing that they were showing too, showed a huge spike in people looking it up. I mean, it was like, I wish I could find the graph. I may be able to if I can look through. If I do, I'll put it in here. But it was mind-blowing, because I was like, well, what does that mean, right? What is a decidual cast? Decidual is like things that fall periodically. Leaves, trees like maple leaves are deciduous, which means that their leaves fall. Cast is a cast, like something that is the shape of something that it came out of. Okay. This is it's supposed to be a rare occurrence. So in some very rare cases, this is what it says, the entire uterine lining could shed simultaneously. Oh my goodness. It's a very painful and traumatic experience that can result in a loss of blood volume high enough that hospitalization is required. I was also noticing at that time that I was having the absolute worst premenstrual pain of my life. Ironically, I was watching the podcast episode discussing this when I felt a tremendous gush from my body. I immediately stood up and blood was streaming down my legs and onto the carpet. I ran to the bathroom and saw it, the entire lining of my uterus, staring back at me. Hi! I even took a picture of it. I will not share that with you. I yelled and screamed. My stepdaughter called 911. I went to the hospital. They took me there for, because I was bleeding out. And they did a painful transvaginal ultrasound, which is like, hey, that's the absolute worst thing right now. But I get it. You want to know what's going on. And it concluded nothing. We don't know why this happened. So there you go. I had, in fact, dropped a decidual cast. There was no cause to be found whatsoever. I found out the next day that 3 other women that I knew had bleeding so severe they soaked the bed. So this was not just happening to me. And again, this is hearsay. This is anecdotal. But if it's a rare enough occurrence that it's called rare, why would I know 3 other people in my immediate circle that were experiencing this within the same 2 weeks? It's a very odd occurrence. What was happening here? Was it the virus? Studies started showing that the spike protein was collecting in the ovaries and affecting women's cycles and fertility. We're now seeing evidence that no matter what way you get the spike protein in your body, even if it is an intervention of some sort, that it is creating the spike protein and it is collecting in places like the ovaries and testes. I never did actually get the intervention because I had already gotten the virus and I understood immunity and I just left it at that. And so now this is a big mystery that a lot of people are trying to armchair quarterback and figure out what happened. I think there may be some studies out there that they're working on now about it, but the less said right now in this podcast, the better. I am posting a link that shows the study they had done showing that spike protein collects in the ovaries. So the day finally came. In August of 2022, I had what I would later realize was my very last period. Most of my long COVID symptoms had been alleviated by a combination of several interventions, which I will go over in a future podcast. I still continue to have hot flashes and insomnia, low libido, peripheral neuropathy, and some tendinitis. I needed to change up my supplement game yet again to adjust to my ever-changing body. I had tried black cohosh in the past, but I figured it was worth another shot. I had tried vitamin E and evening primrose oil, but they didn't work well for me despite some evidence. Again, those are other things that you may be able to try that I'm not going to go over because it didn't really work for me. I've got so many other things that did that I'm getting into next. If you take black cohosh, you need to cycle it. Let me see if I can find where on earth. Here we go. So in the study, it is the efficacy of black cohosh in treating early symptoms of menopause. There's a randomized clinical trial. And the conclusion, which I did not even look into, it says that it does. Oh, I did, right? I'm sorry. It reduced the total score of all, basically the vasomotor, psychiatric, physical, and sexual symptoms during the 4 to 8 weeks of treatment. So it did something. It visibly showed that it did something. And I can tell you it works for me. I still take it. I don't take a lot of it. I try to take the lowest dose of efficacy. So even if it says on the bottle, take 2 capsules, I still just take 1. Because again, we're talking about introducing things into the body that are foreign to the body. It is an herb. It helps. It's better that it's an herb because it's almost a food rather than one compound. But you need to cycle it on and off. What fresh hell is this? Okay, so here's the thing about menopause. There are some crazy things that happen. I mean, things I can't explain. Menopause is definitely not for the weak. As the years went on, I started to experience a very strange phenomenon. My mouth was getting so dry, it felt like it was burning. After some research, I'd found that it was appropriately called burning mouth syndrome. And nobody knows exactly what causes it or how to treat it. The best resource I was able to find was a Facebook group. I am linking that for you because there are many reasons why this happens. I learned that it could be anything from like a mineral deficiency, hormonal, aggravated by certain foods, but there's nothing definitive. Again, there's different things that cause dry mouth. This is like a super duper dry mouth though, like little wrinkles on the inside of your lips, kind of dry mouth. And because your mouth is dry, it burns. I decided that my continued hot flashes were indicating a hormonal imbalance. So I was ever more motivated to fix this as a possible underlying cause. I'd been using natural progesterone cream for a while, but I'd learned that using bioidentical progesterone on the gums might be more effective. This is controversial. I'm going to tell you this. It is also known as transmucosal progesterone. A lot of times when women do this, they use this on in the vagina, and your mouth is the same kind of mucous membrane. Like you've got, this smile and that smile, and they work in a very similar way. Although I don't know if that smiled, I think I'd be a little scared. I think it'd be nice if it smiled once in a while. Anyway, so I'm putting the study about the progesterone in here as well. What I do is I have it's drops, it's liquid, it's in a vitamin E oil, and I take it and I just rub 4 to 5 drops on my gums, moving it around my mouth every night, taking 2 weeks off. Cycling 1 week off. Progesterone, you're supposed to stop progesterone for a week, ideally the week that would be your period. And if you're menopausal and you're like, or you just don't get a period anymore for whatever reason, there is a way to figure that out and what the most appropriate week is. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So I addressed the mineral issue with shilajit. If you'd like to learn more about shilajit, I'm linking the previous podcast that I had that I discussed what shilajit is and what it does. It is basically a tar-like substance that is an ancient fermented seabed mineral that's found in mountaintops, particularly the Himalayas usually is the best because it's the biggest, oldest. So I'll be linking that as well as the study on shilajit. Continuing on my roller coaster ride, because some of the situations in my life compounded, my mood and insomnia were getting out of control. I'd been researching lithium orotate and how a deficiency of this particular mineral can cause these symptoms. I started a regular daily dose, and it's been life-changing. My mood is stable, and I can finally sleep deeply. I'm posting the link to that study and also to my previous podcast on the lithium orotate. It's nothing short of a miracle. It is a mineral, salt, metal in that category, found in soils and in water, particularly in populations of people that are happier generally. It is a naturally occurring thing. And in some parts of the country, we get zero, nothing. And especially if you are drinking filtered water, like with a reverse osmosis filter, you're getting nothing for sure. So this is why people drink mineral water. There's a lot out there now. Lithium is really lithium orotate, not to be confused with lithium carbonate, which is the pharmaceutical intervention for people who are bipolar. This is not that. This requires a far lower dose, so no side effects necessarily, unless you take a lot of it. I only take 5 milligrams, which is, decent little dose. And it's amazing. I mean, really, I'm of the opinion now that there are a lot of circumstances that people are in with anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder that are actually just lithium deficient. If we could just come to that conclusion, I highly recommend trying it before trying anything else. Or if you want to try it and see if you could replace things, that's great too. So my libido was low, and that's considered normal. Hint, it's not really, by most doctors. Upon further research, I'd learned that DHEA, when properly dosed, can help. Because it's a precursor to both estrogen and testosterone, it converts to whatever is needed by the body. I'm still on a low dose as I don't want to experience side effects like more hair on my chin and aggression, which, again, that's what the lithium is taking care of. I'm very careful with this. I posted a link to it. I am not telling you to take it again unless you are under the care of somebody who knows what they're doing with this. I can help you. I am only on 5 milligrams. It's taking the edge off of things. It is making me feel more whole. It's not the larger dose that was in the studies that I'm going, or the study that I will post, but again, it's a precursor to a hormone. So again, you're getting kind of into that danger zone with you're adding something to your body that your body already makes. And you don't want to do that, because when you start adding too much to your body of something that it already makes, your body goes, oh, there's plenty in the bloodstream. I can shut down. I can take a vacation. And then what happens is those particular endocrine glands start shrinking and producing less naturally. And then a whole other host of problems happen. So be careful with this stuff. When taking any forms of HRT, be it pharmaceutical or natural, getting your levels tested and being in the care of an endocrinologist or knowledgeable gynecologist is essential. I had my levels tested and everything appears to be pretty good, except my DHEA is a tiny bit high, which is expected. And my estrogen is non-existent, which is not really what I was going for. So what's next? Here I am. I'm still experiencing some hot flashes, which tells me my body is still struggling. I stumbled upon Dr. Mindy Pell's and Fast Like a Girl, where she discusses fast cycling for women to reset everything from hormones to immunity. I will be linking her website here as well. I had experimented with fasting in the past with 1 meal a day. I did that for an entire year. And I still had been doing right along 16-8 intermittent fasting. And I had done a 3 and a 5 day water fast. So I'm no, stranger to the fasting thing. I can get through hunger. I'm currently in a fasted state right now, and I'm amazed at how good I actually feel. You just have to get past that little hunger, and then it goes away. And I will be eating. I'm doing a 24-hour fast right now. So last time I ate was 4:30. Actually, it was close to 4:15 last night. And I haven't had any food. I will eat my dinner a little early today at about 4:15. So I figured it was now time to revisit these tools, especially since syncing to a cycle would be helpful as someone who no longer gets a menstrual cycle. Because I know women's bodies are rhythmic. There is a rhythm that we experience, and it goes with the moon. Just going to say, right? My goal is to eventually get off most, if not all, of my supplements. I take a lot of them. I sound like somebody who takes a lot of them. I talk a lot about all these great supplements, right? But one of the things that I'm learning is that when you start fasting properly for your body, that your body, it heals itself. Of course it does. Of course it does. The body is nearly perfect. And you could say, oh, well, not mine, blah, blah, blah. But you don't really know because, unfortunately, we're living in a world that is constantly messing with us. None of us have truly experienced what it's like to be an unmolested human. So experiencing what it's like for your body to do what it's supposed to do is actually a foreign concept to if not, I'm saying most of us, if not all of us. It's a very strange thing to think about when you think about it, right? I'm really excited to start working on this, and I will be updating you with my progress and discoveries for sure. So there you go. That is what I've done. These are the interventions that have helped me. I've given you some resources too. Of course, please subscribe and share with someone you think might benefit from the information. And I will be posting my before pic, which I'm at right now. And I'm going to make this very clear. Everybody has their own place at which they're comfortable with their body. I am not fat phobic. I am not body shaming. I understand all of the other things that are working out there against us. And I myself have had all kinds of bizarre things happening with my weight due to being on antidepressants, due to just eating the wrong things. And I've experimented with all kinds of different diets and things. I am searching for a lifestyle change. The first thing Dr. Mindy says, clean up your diet. I'm there. I figured it out. I did carnivore for a year. I pulled everything back and added things back in slowly. Now I've gotten to the point where I can even eat Italian wheat, which is amazing. It does not bother me at all. Again, I learned, if you go to the folic acid podcast where I'm railing against synthetic folic acid, it's the enriched wheat that's the problem for me. That may be a problem for you to eat Italian wheat. You could be actually celiac, in which case, yes, stay far away from any gluten at all. But again, I'm going through what works for me, and I'm sharing with you along the way. And my before pick is I am not where I'd like to be, ideally. I had kind of a rough winter. I was very sedentary. I'm trying to build muscle. I'm trying to shift my weight from the adipose tissue to the muscle tissue and strengthen myself and prepare myself. I am a woman approaching 55. The younger you start building muscle, the better. I'm fortunate in that I am genetically predisposed to having decent muscle tone anyway, but getting that muscle tone and building that muscle early on is extremely important. So you're thinking, well, why would you be fasting? Aren't you going to lose muscle? No, if you do that the right way, you'll increase your human growth hormone, which will increase your muscle mass as well. So this is why I'm doing this. And I am posting my ridiculous before picture, and I'm going to say socks, socks for emphasis. And you'll see, I'm pretty happy with the way that I look. It's not that I'm unhappy. I want to feel better. So, giving you a visual representation, I think, is probably just the best way to do that right now. So I also realize the density of the information that I have presented here. So I will be dedicating the next several podcasts to each of the topics I covered in this episode, including long COVID. That's a big one for me. So Trust Your Gut with Tanya is a subscriber-supported podcast. If you are getting value, please consider subscribing, upgrading your subscription, and sharing with others you feel who would benefit. Stay tuned and have a sparkling day.